Hi everybody, we are in St James's Park today. This is the second time that Andrea and I have met, and we've had quite a busy morning.
Oh yes, we went to see some museum like London Museum and St Bartholomew's, the great church.
Yeah. We went to an exhibition of the Great Fire of London, which you found very useful.
Absolutely amazing.
So, we've got some questions here that people have written in for us, and the first one is, how did you get into reading? So I'm guessing this is about how you got into...
We discovered tarot, yes.
Yeah,
yes. How do you discover tarot?
My beginning with tarot wasn't very spiritual. I actually bought my first tarot deck in a supermarket.
Yeah.
When I was doing the shopping on a Friday evening, and I went past, there was a whole little section of different kits, how to do this, how to do that, and one of them was tarot, and I looked at it and I thought, that looks kind of interesting. So curiosity, I put it in there with the wine and the whiskey and everything else, and my friend and his wife came around in the evening and I showed her after dinner, and we started playing around with the cards. So that was my first deck. I think it was by Shirley Barker and Jonathan D. But that wasn't, it was quite a while, and then I went and got myself a more professional, what I thought was a more professional deck in London, which was the Roic Tarot.
It's a discovery process. So.
Well, somebody said to me, because I was talking to somebody about it, and they said to me, you need to get a deck which works for you artistically. Because I didn't realise that there was so many decks out there.
No, that was your first deck of tarot, so...
Yeah, but so the next one was kind of the one that I really worked with for a long time on its own, exclusively.
Okay, nice, interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. What about you? How did you do it?
How I discovered tarot. My mother was a tarot reader. So my childhood was empty of magic and strange things happening all around my home, my childhood, everything. And my mother was pouring sparkling of magic all around my childhood. So yes, she was a tarot reader, and I was mesmerized by the tarot. I remember the spread all over the table, and she looking into the future, the past, making jokes. Because I remember she was doing cards to tell us that, me and my brother, that it was time to go to bed.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, it was really, really funny. I see in the tarot that it's the time to go to bed. And oh yes.
You believe?
Yes, yes. It was amazing. It was really amazing. And then after 30 years, maybe more, I decided to work on my first tarot deck. So, because I wanted to go back to that time and live again that magic, and it was right.
So in a sense, I suppose tarot can make you quite brings back memories. It's quite a reflective process for you as much as
Yes.
as going forward with it.
Yes, it's a discovery process, but it's even a memory process. It's interesting.
Yeah, you see, that's the kind of beginning a lot of readers would probably like to have. You know, the mother that already was reading tarot, whereas my kind of introduction to tarot was not like that. Even though I will say that throughout my young life, I always had a very psychic side to me. I used to always hear stuff, see stuff. So I suppose it wasn't that strange for me to go into this kind of
Yes,
work.
it was natural.
But it took
yes.
that kind of spontaneous event to take me into that. You know, if I hadn't seen that deck, would I be in tarot now? I mean, I don't know. This one's from Fatima. Which is the source of information which inspired you of the creation of your deck?
Oh wow. When I decided to start my first deck of tarot, actually I was thinking about my study of philosophy, and so Middle Age and Renaissance philosophy, and my passion for art, ancient art. And so when I started, I decided to convey the memory of my studies and what was important for me at that time. And so I think my knowledge, my past, I never had a life as a philosopher. I mean, I have a university degree in philosophy, but I never used. I always loved. He was very helpful in my life for the forma mentis. I mean, for the way I'm thinking, the way I found different. I mean, I found solutions in a different way, and I wanted to recuperate kind of knowledge and use it, because I always was fascinated by it. And so I said, okay, this is my first tarot deck. I don't even know if I do a second one. I said, I want to convey all my knowledge. Everything is important for me. So not just about knowledge, but feelings, emotions, values. Everything is there.
I suppose it's a little bit like when people write their first novel. A lot of people say that when people write a novel, it kind of has an autobiographical feel to it. So I suppose if you're creating a deck, if you're the creator and you're the artist, you kind of it's almost kind of like, this is my life up to now, you know.
Exactly. I mean, creating tarot for me is not different than creating a show in theater or creating a painting. I put everything myself in the creative process, because you have something to say, you have values to convey, emotion that you feel and you want to share with people. So at the end, creating a tarot deck or creating a book, writing a book, or creating whatever form of art, musical composition or whatever, is the same. I mean, it's all your soul to go in the process, with the moment when you don't feel comfortable with what you are creating, from the moment when you don't like what you create, from the moment you are completely excited for what you create. I mean, everything is there. What about
in terms of the lost code? I mean, the sources of information. Obviously, we've been today looking at the Great Fire, which was also something that you used within the story that accompanies your deck. So, where did you go to get a lot of that information?
I've studied a lot, and I read a lot of books. I think I decided to create a parallel world, or ground on it in the real one, with real historical facts, because I love history, and because I fear that we never learn our lesson from history. And if we forget our past, we are doomed to live it again. And we see what happening right now. I mean, if we open a magazine, a newspaper, you see how badly things are going, because we are going on forgetting our
mistakes.
Yes, we are going to repeat our mistakes. And then, of course, I was fascinated by the history of London, because it's complex, because it's very iconic, and it's a place I love. So
I think it's interesting what you were saying before, and you were saying about using your background in philosophy. Whereas for me, I suppose I tap back into the world of fashion and design, that kind of thing.
Yes.
You know, I learned how to use the programs that I use in design when I was working for the high street. So that was how I used to draw out my silhouettes when I was doing the clothing. So I've kind of a lot of the stuff that I've used in the past, which I thought would not be useful to me anymore, has actually really been useful for me in terms of tarot, to be a creator, to be a designer, to be a reader, to be a writer. So I've kind of drawn on all of those experiences, I guess, when I was putting together.
I think we use what we have or what we are to create something. It's just not a matter of have, but a matter to be. I think you express yourself in your work.
Absolutely, and I think even that interest in fashion and photography and all that kind of stuff has been kind of shown within the kind of things that I do. You know, especially if I think back to my photographic mail deck. You know, a lot of that's very it's very much geared to how things look. You know, as much as to what they mean.
Yes.
Pedro, how did the creation process of this deck affect you spiritually? And this is for you.
Oh, I think this is for both of us. I mean, I answer first.
Okay.
I think it changed a lot myself, because I actually secluded myself in my home studio for 3 years to create the Book of Shadows, the Tarot, the Book of the Alchemist, and then writing the short novels and the short stories, and then creating the film all along with the animations. It was very, very, very long. But it's not just for that to change you. I mean, when you create a big project, a project is a challenge at the same time. You are forced to change, because from the moment you start working and the moment you finish, there are many things that happen that are above your control. You cannot control them. And so your creativity flows by itself, and you have just to follow it. But in following the river, you see the landscape. And so you change. You painting and selecting the symbols, or giving meaning, the meanings you want to convey in every single card, and then in all the project. It's so complicated, it's a complex process that of course you change, because then you see things in a different way, because the creativity process forces you to reflect on your life, on what you feel, or what you are doing at that moment, and so of course you change. I think it's like a deep exploration of your own soul when you create. I mean, for me it was like that. It was like a voyage, a solitary voyage inside my inner self, or my creativity, I mean.
How about the actual cards themselves, as you created the cards? I know that what you have there is something it's very traditional to the Marseille style.
Yes.
But did you introduce parts of yourself to those cards? I know from my own cards I put in symbols, or I based them around things which were connected. For the Hierophant, for example, I used Karenberg from Kabbalah Center, because I was thinking, who is my Hierophant? So I wondered, did you actually change with your work, with each card?
A lot, but not just the cards, even the book. I put, let's say, the film. In the film, all the actors are not professional actors. They are my friends. So I wanted them in the film because it's the first film I created, and even the most important, because I wanted to convey everything I feel and I believe in. And then in the tarot there are references to film I love, like the Bride of Frankenstein,
Oh, yeah, of
like
course.
yes, you will find the card that is the Bride of Frankenstein. And then another
Gloria
card.
Swanson.
There is Gloria Swanson. Yes, we talk about it. And then there are little objects that maybe are objects from my past, my dog, my friends. Little details that is not that you change the meaning of the card, but you
Enhance
find, yes, you find in the little detail of our card something of your life and you put in it. It's not a matter of change, it's a matter of interpretation. I mean, the hermit, the sun clock can be something you think about, is something from your, it is an object of my childhood. I play a lot with it, so it's just a memory, but the memory came something different, or maybe the memory gave colors to the card, mean gave it more feelings.
Thing.
Yes, but I think people don't understand, because I mean it's something one have to talk about. But when I started to paint the tarot, I don't have in mind to print the tarot to be published. There was just done for an exhibition I have in mind. So usually when you have to do an exhibition, you put everything you want to say, and you don't think about the business part. I mean the money part. You don't think if people like it or if you sell it. You think just about what you want to convey, and to convey it in the best way, to create something beautiful, something engaging, something that people can say, yes, I want to see it because it deserves to be seen. Because at the end you are asking time from people, the time to watch an exhibition, to go there, and then you hope, of course, that they enjoy it, because you do an exhibition to communicate with your public. And then I decided to go for a printing with Kickstarter, so to find the money myself to print it, because I said it's a pity that you can see just in an exhibition. There's something more. I want to share more. What is the best way of sharing? If I do an exhibition in London, just people in London can see it. If I print my deck with the story, I have the movie distributed, everyone can see it. And so it's a more democratic process. And I decided to go for it. And then I was published by Lo Scarabeo, so yes, of course, it was another step into opening to the world. So I'm really happy.
Yeah, I understand.
And what was for you?
How did it affect me spiritually?
I don't think you
I think
did in 2 days the tarot, absolutely not.
No. I mean, I think probably one of the things that not so much the Spirit Within the Shadows deck, but the one before it, the one where I collaged all of the men into the deck, which I'm redoing now.
Yes, the one I love a lot. Yes, I remember. It's my favorite deck.
But you know, when I did that, I tried to create tarot decks many times, and I would do maybe 10 of them, or I'd do the courts, and then for one reason or another, I would kind of end up not doing it. It would get put on the back burner, and then I'd start something else. So when I finally created the Fragments deck and finished it, something happened there, because I told myself, yes, I can make 78 images, I can make my way all the way through the deck, and I can do it again. And I did do it again, and now I'm going to do it again with the rejigged version of Fragments. So for me, spiritually, I think it was kind of saying to me, you know, you can complete things, you can do things, and it kind of was almost a line in the sand between the person that I was and the person that I am. You know, that I can complete things. I can.
It's a challenge.
I can
it's a
overcome the challenge.
You challenge yourself in the process.
Absolutely.
I think it's very beautiful what you said. I mean, I love it. I mean, challenging oneself in the creative process is the most amazing thing you can do. Because when you succeed, you feel, it's not just to feel proud, because it's not that, but you feel happy, because it's like to give birth to a child. You have it, you have your baby, and then he's there, growing, going along for his own path.
I think, you know, sometimes the more difficult it is to birth that child, the better it feels when you have it, you know.
Yes.
And you know, it wasn't an arduous process, but you know, it took a lot of time, and the way that I found my images as well, a lot of them are online in magazines. I had to really hunt for those images rather than go out and find them. You know, didn't just go out and take the photographs on the first one, so it's quite difficult to find people standing how I wanted them to be standing, doing things I wanted them to be doing. So
It's complicated. It's a lot of research. Yes, I agree.
yeah, and sometimes I would start gardening, it would go into a file for a while until I'd found the right,
Yes.
which we were talking about earlier about having files
Yes.
of
Yes.
of
This is the
things
reason
that
why
I've used.
I had told you you have to take your own picture. So it's a little bit faster the creative process, but you control more. Not just
Yeah.
that.
So we have here, tell us about what attracts you to this path, this is from Michal, and how it helps you personally grow as a person, and what that has looked like.
Oh, it is a very tricky question. I mean, I don't know. There is it's not something logical, maybe. It's not something rational. It's just that I have this feeling from my childhood that I wanted to live again that feelings, to recreate that magic that my mother created all around me, share it. So creates a sort of cloud of magic to envelop people around me, as my mother did with me. But it's not that was a thought is one day you sit there and say, now I start and do it, these kind of things. It's just that I went to my mom, there was some tarot there, and I looked there, yes, your tarot, it's nice, it's time I don't see it. And then you go home and you do other stuff, and then the tarots come back again, and then a friend speak about the hermit or another card. And so at a certain point you start drawing something and say, oh, this is a card, it's a tarot, hey, maybe I have to, yes, let's do some tarot. I mean, it's something that...
Did you read tarot long before you decided to design tarot?
Yes, I started. Because when I said, let's see what the tarot means, because I never was involved in tarot. I mean, it was my childhood and that, but then my mother stopped reading it, so I don't know. And then I wanted to see all the meanings and the symbols, and I was curious to discover the philosophical aspect and all the aspect related to their symbology. I mean, the Middle Age and Renaissance culture and way of thinking. And so you start reading it, but reading it maybe in a different way, reading it from an historical point of view, and then you start reading it in the normal point of view, I mean. And then from there you start creating them, because before creating my deck, because there was in my past, I had to study a lot. And while studying, researching, searching for old books, ancient pictures, I mean, portraits, and it was long. And what about you?
I think when I initially started off, I quite liked the idea of the magic. I think, you know, what I do with tarot now is very different to how it was when I first started out. I liked the idea, I liked the fortune telling aspect of it, I liked the theatrical aspect of it. Now I think it's more about using the cards to help other people. It's less about me and more about the person that I'm reading for. So in that sense, I suppose it's helped me grow as a person, because I've met so many people doing it. I've learned so much from people within readings, and I suppose I've learned kind of what my strengths are as well. You know, the fact that I can be compassionate, that I can be wise, as you say. You know,
Yes.
those kind of things. So I suppose it's helped me to grow in my experience and my understanding of people.
I think we have two different experience with tarot. You as a reader have a very deep connection with people. As a creator, maybe as an artist, it was different my process, my approach to tarot. So when you ask, do you read tarot? Yes, but for myself. I mean, it's different, it's completely different. I never read tarot for someone else.
That's interesting in itself though, because I think that maybe when I'm creating a tarot deck, I'm not just viewing it through the lens of myself as an artist, I'm viewing it through my lens as a reader as well.
Yes.
So if I'm going to sell a tarot, and that's probably what sets our decks apart in some ways, is the fact that I'm very conscious of how symbols can be read and how I can convey those meanings to people. who are doing the same kind of profession, who have the same profession as I do. But for you, it's about being, about being creative and showing
Yes.
who you are. And the Lost Code is very much. It's got a lot of personality about it, I'd say.
No, yes, but when I create them, the first goal was trying not to make them crazy and not readable. So
They are
I
quite
tried to, yes, but in a good, I hope in a good sense, in a good meaning.
Yeah.
No, yes, but this is the reason why I stayed attached to the Marseille deck, and was a very strong point of reference, because I didn't want to create something that people have to look and say, what card is this? I don't see it, maybe it's this or maybe this one. No, I wanted to try to make something easier to read. But for me the read is always the read of the symbols and the meanings, but it was never something to read for someone else. I mean, it's really for reading. I don't know how to explain,
I think
it's
that,
different.
your deck in particular, I noticed I've only had it this week, or last week when I bought it. And I found, sitting there on my bed with it late at night and looking through and looking at the symbols, looking at the images, thinking about, the difference here with this deck, and I know there's another question about this here. I usually work with scenic minded cards, so I had a very different kind of response to this than I would do if I was reading for somebody else.
Yes.
So I think maybe it kind of lends itself a little bit to that more kind of personal reading. Until you're completely familiar with it, I think you need to get familiar with it.
No,
If you're
yes.
going to read for others.
No, yes, but I think with every tarot deck you have to get acquainted with the
Absolutely,
deck.
yeah.
It's very, very important, because you cannot read it and say, oh yes, maybe this is not professional. I mean, no.
I totally agree with you, and I think you do have to acquaint yourself with the deck. I think there are some decks, if you're a Rider-Waite-Smith reader and you understand that deck and you pull out a deck like the Hanson Roberts or something like that, I think you can read it straight away.
No, yes.
And that's what I was saying earlier when I was talking about you as a creator, and I was saying that it had more of you in than some of those decks. What I meant was some decks are created with a market in mind, like the Hanson Roberts perhaps, because it's
Yes.
a deck that is very, very like what people know.
Yes, I think you have to give time to tarot to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Calvino, an Italian writer, and used the tarot to create stories. He defined the tarot as a perfect storytelling machine, and it is my favorite use of the tarot. I mean, just the creative exercise to create a story put in on a table for tarot, and every time with different rules, and every time see something different or something new in a card is a powerful exercise. I find it liberatory. Liberatory for the fantasy, for the energy, it's quite intriguing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've read books before where people use the cards as inspiration for writing,
Yes.
or people use them to describe what's going on in a film, and you have the characters, that kind of thing, and they break it up into different areas of the plot. It's not something I've done a lot of, to be honest with you. It's not something that I've done a lot of, using it to inspire stories. Even though I do like to read the cards as stories. Sometimes if I've just got 3 cards, they're like a window, aren't they?
Yes, you through the tarot read someone else's story.
Absolutely.
And this is intriguing too.
So, what is your favourite card from Ruben?
My favorite card, I think, is the devil.
Oh yeah, why?
Yes, because the devil is devilish. I mean, no, it's because it represents the union, the mystic union of everything. The devil is hermaphrodite, so it's female and male at the same time, and the devil is free. When I think of the devil, I always think the devil of Milton, or the devil of the Master and Margareta by Bulgakov. I mean, I don't know, Goethe, the Faust. I mean, there are 3 different versions of the devil. All of 3 are like the impersonification, you say? Personification, personification of freedom. They are absolute free. there are no rules, and I love this kind of aspect of the devil.
So you're looking at it in a very positive light.
Yes, yes. The devil is someone that is the perfect union of everything, and is grounded of the blackness of the unconscious. So it's like the magma where everything can be drawn from. So creative energy, intuitive energy. And I like this. Yes, for me it's not a negative card. Yeah, two powerful wings to fly, and it's not something. It's not the temptation or the evil. Absolutely not. It's what the man can be when he learns to be.
I think you can
himself.
look at the. You know, I do try to sometimes to look at the devil in a positive sense, because I think that everybody needs to be able to let themselves go, to enjoy themselves. I think the only problem with the devil is that when people do it to an extent that they fall out of balance, and I think that the devil card will come up sometimes with people like that.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
But I don't think there's any card in the tarot that's all good, or there's any card that's all bad. We
No,
all
it
have
depends
shades.
from the context, from the spread, from the situation. Yes, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. And what is your favorite card?
The one that I probably identify most with is the Hermit, I would say. I've always enjoyed spending time by myself. I'd say I'm a very reflective person. I look back at things that have happened in my life which have not been so great, and I draw power from those times. I learn from them. I use them in my present. And I think especially as I've got older as well, I spend less time with people. I'm less sociable than I used to be. I used to be very sociable. I was probably more like the devil, but now I've kind of turned more into the Hermit. So yeah, I probably would say the Hermit. But then there's cards in the deck that I always look for when I buy a deck. I like the Knight of Cups to be right. I like usually the courts are big for me. I like to make sure they look kind of how
Yes, no, I understand.
I want them to, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do the silhouette deck, was because having silhouetted courts meant that people could see whoever they wanted to see in them.
Yes.
Rather than looking at them and thinking, oh, you know, I don't quite like that face, or that's not how.
Yes, they are more universal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and they transcend all colours and cultures and ages and genders in some cases as well. You know.
What makes me smile is that we did the same thinking from two different points of view. I mean, to make the tarot the more universal possible, mixing element of different culture. I saw it in your Silhouette Tarot, and in the Book of Shadow Tarot I did the same. I mean, I tried to convey different cultures, an element of different cultures, and you find it from the culture from the past, from our history, culture of the present time, and I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a lot of posts and YouTube videos in recent times, and I don't remember where it originated, but I remember Kellyanne Maddox talking about it, and it was all about how many tarots don't have that diversity in them. So I was quite pleased when I watched that. When I looked at my own deck, I thought, well, you know, I've kind of done my part here to make it open to everybody. You know, this isn't a set of images that just works for that one kind of person can identify with.
Yes, I was thinking if you think how tarot come to our history, I mean, from playing cards, and so like allegories of power and the way of critics without being beheaded, and then from more not obscure, but the use of tarot for readings or something like that. But the first tarot are very, very connected with our Christian tradition, or the Western tradition, the middle-aged man, the middle-aged mentality, and then some sparkle of Renaissance up and there. But I think now this have to change. I mean, we cannot be bound to this kind of reality, because we live in a more open world, and so even the tarot should be more open to different cultural traditions and everything. Even because there are many paths that are the same, or symbols. If you think about the studies by Carl Gustav Jung and the symbols, there are lots of symbols that are cross-reference, I mean, in different culture, like the pyramid, like the wheel. The wheel of fortune is the wheel of fortune of the Roman and the wheel of fortune of the middle-aged man, but even the wheel of fortune of the Buddhist. I mean, it's not the fortune, it's the dharma and the karma, but there is the same meaning, or a similar meaning of cyclicity, of coming back, or things that return. From one side it was more free, to the other more structured, but I mean, we are very powerful meanings and symbols, and so open them to many readings and different interpretation can be more intriguing for
even if you look again like through different kind of systems. If you look at the Lenormand cards as well, you have the tower, which has a very different meaning to the one that we have in tarot. So we still see the same symbols even in other kinds of decks.
Yes.
Meaning different things. Do you use other kinds of decks like Oracle and Lenormand?
I love oracles.
What kind of
I
Name some.
Yes, I don't remember the name. I don't remember the name of the oracle. I love it. I don't have it. I have to ask. I see it in a friend of mine. I mean, a friend of mine has it. We use it, and I have to ask the name of the oracle because I want it.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Is it self-published?
I think, yes, it's self-published. It's a self-published oracle. It's all dark, black, gloomy, photographic. I have to look for it and I give you the reference.
Yeah, you find out and then I can put it down here.
Absolutely, yes,
Yeah.
because I think it's a very, very well done oracle. It's amazing.
Okay.
And you?
What about Lenormand? Have you been down that?
No,
path?
I never bought a Lenormand card, and I want to. I saw them. I saw ancient decks too, but I want to study the matter and maybe creating something. I don't know, because I found it fascinating.
I think a lot of people go that way. If you think about Ciro Marchetti,
Yes.
Eric
Yeah.
Dunn is also doing. He's also doing a.
Ah, really? I didn't know it.
I think I'm right that he's
Gina
doing a
Ties.
Lenormand. Yeah, there's a
Yes.
lot of people who make that move from tarot to Lenormand in terms of creation as much as working.
Yes.
But yeah, I've got quite a few Lenormand decks at home, and I go through periods where sometimes I enjoy to work with them, and they work very, very well for me for a month or two, and then I kind of have to get away and go back to tarot or something else. I've also got a lot of other oracle decks. I'd say my favourite oracle deck is the Chronicles of Destiny by Emily and Josephine Ellishaw, and it's a little bit like a Lenormand, but it has a kind of a tarot feel to it.
I don't know him. I will look for the deck because I'm curious.
It's very good.
I'm very curious.
But you know, the way that they read is very similar to how you would read Lenormand cards, in the fact that you build them up in pairs, and they have their own meanings as partnerships as well as individually. So I like that, and I find that sometimes more fulfilling to read maybe than the Lenormand. But I do have a lot of other oracles. As a lot of people know, I keep a lot of Doreen Virtue decks, which are not everybody's favourite, but you know, I find some people enjoy those in readings. And you know, for myself, I like to have a deck like that for a little bit of reflection sometimes.
Yes.
You know, where the tarot might be a little bit too much. You know, pull a card before bed. I had one the other day actually, which was I was suffering from really a lot of headaches.
Oh.
And I drew a card to find out what it was, and the card actually came back as drink less caffeine. You know, and you think to yourself, how could that card, when I bought the deck, I thought, how could that card ever be useful to anybody? But I actually cut down my caffeine.
Okay. It was useful. It was correct.
Was very useful.
It was correct.
Very correct. It's very useful.
This is what I like of tarot oracles, that whenever you play with them, just for fun, I say, no, maybe I don't believe it so much. And then it's something happens, I say,
But sometimes,
And now,
you know,
what can I say?
a deck like that, you know, a deck like that with a card like that is very specific.
Yes,
But
it's
sometimes,
quite specific,
sometimes you know, tarot can be almost like a little bit of a murmur or a whisper. But you know, a deck like that kind of just tells you this is what
No,
you
that
need
one
to do.
was very, very specific.
That was very, very specific.
Yes.
Yes.
So, no coffee today.
No coffee today. No. Layla says, what made you both want to create a tarot deck?
I think I already have answered before. I mean, I wanted to create it because I wanted to convey the sense of magic of my childhood and share it with people. And then in doing so, I wanted to convey my values, my ideas and everything. So yes, we answer without knowing it.
I would add to that for me, when I created Spirit Within the Shadows, I never intended that to be a printed deck. The reason I did it was because I'd started out a blog and I wanted to put posts which would be educational on there, but I didn't want to infringe the copyright of other decks which were out there, so I didn't want to use the Rider-Waite because I knew I'd be using it quite a lot. So a good friend of mine said to me, well, why don't you just create your own?
Yes. No, I agree.
So that's where it came from.
It's a very nice explanation, and I think it's very fun to see how many, from different point of views, we go on ending in the same path.
Yeah.
Don't thinking about publishing, not thinking about. It's
But one of the nice
interesting.
things about that actually was the fact that it actually took a lot of the worry that I would have about making an individual deck that was all about me. I didn't have that worry so much because it was more to do with conveying those symbols and those cards to people learning the tarot. So what came out of it was almost like an echo of myself, if that makes sense.
Yes, no, it does make sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Eric C. Dunn asks us, how do you two stay so youthful looking?
I painted long ago my self-portrait, and it's rotten in secluded in a secret place.
Right.
So,
okay.
yeah, so I'm fine in this way.
But you're okay. Okay.
And what about you?
About me,
What did you do?
my dad would probably say it's because I've never worked a hard day's work in my life. Probably.
No. This is not fine to say. No.
For me, I don't know.
I think there is some mystical explanation,
There
like,
must be.
I don't know. Do
Good
you
camera
drink?
angles.
Yes, good camera angles. No, I was thinking about virgin blood. Do you bath in virgin blood? There are no more virgins now, I know.
I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke.
Neither do
I don't eat meat.
Well,
but I
sometimes
did all of
yes.
those things for a
Hamburger.
very
I
long
love
time.
hamburger. I can do it without. Not every day. Sometimes.
Yeah, but I did those things for long enough to not look youthful.
You have to try pasta with ragu. Ragu, you know ragu? No,
Yeah.
ragu. Oh, it's with meat.
Oh, well, no. Then.
Yeah, you have to eat it. Okay.
So this one is from Pedro. This is for me, but we'll have it for both of us. As a reader, how do you feel working with this particular deck? So I guess this is about your deck.
Oh, okay.
But I've only had it not even a week yet. I've noticed that I am getting a very different feeling working with this deck, and I think it's because I am primarily a Rider-Waite Smith reader. So this is giving me something different. It's giving me a different experience. Also, I wasn't sure that I really wanted to read it in a Rider-Waite Smith way. I wanted to look at the minor cards through number and element.
Yes.
So take a simple card like the Two of Cups. So cups are related to emotions, to feeling, your feeling life, and then I would combine that with the Two, which is about partnerships and decisions and that kind of thing, and find my meanings that way, rather than just taking the the ideas that we have from the Rider-Waite. So it's kind of challenging me to look at things in a very different kind of way. Numbers.
Yes, I'm curious about what you say, because for me, when I think about tarot, I think about the Marseille deck, because it's more close to the ancient deck ever found, and the reader-wise are very young in the tradition of tarot, and so it was was a change, the start from the Marseille deck. So whenever I think tarot, I think just about the Visconti Sforza, the Marseille deck, and I know when I drew the card, I asked myself what I do with the Pips card. I mean, I do something in the Reader White tradition, giving a hint for the meaning of the card, or I stay more attached to the Marseille tradition, because when people start to reading card for divination, they have just the Pip cards. And so all the meanings were something that grow and grow with centuries. And so I wanted to go back at that time. It's a little bit more difficult to read, but I know that now the tendency is to go back to this part of the past of the tarot. I mean, Katie Matthews is writing a book about how to read in the Pips. She's walking a lot in this direction, because the Reader Whites are intriguing. I mean, they are preparing the reader to read the tarot. I mean, I can be completely wrong. This is my idea. I mean, I don't want to be offensive. I have lots of be unpolite. I mean, it's not my goal. It's not my feeling. I mean, if I want to read a Pip card, I want to see, I don't know, 3 of cups, 3 cups, and then I want to think about how the meaning of the 3 of cups get into the 3 of cups.
Of course.
This is something that I found really, really intriguing. For me, it's something forcing people to rediscover tarot or reinvent tarot, because I was in many tarot conference. I was invited to present a book. I was there because I love it, because I wanted to study. I met a lot of people even while creating the Book of Shadows, and the only things that I always find disturbing, and when people say this card means this, with absolute certitude, well, this card means this and this and this and that. I mean, we have to read tarot in a more fluid way. But this is my point of view as a personal reader, either for myself or for a friend. So I would like to expand more, but for me it's different. What do you think about it?
I think that I agree with what you're saying. I like to read with the Rider-Waite system, and you know, when I'm reading a big spread for people, in terms of time constraints, and I like to know where I'm at with things. When I'm reading, I like to know where I'm standing. I like to be able to pick out information quite quickly, so I don't have time always to think, what does this mean to me at the moment?
Yes,
you know? And it works very well. But I also think that, you know, the Rider-Waite, you know, the pictures that we have there are an interpretation in themselves.
Absolutely.
You know, and when you're given that interpretation, you're almost prevented from having any other.
Yes, but whatever tarot you could, even with my tarot or your tarot, you give an interpretation. You cannot get rid of the point.
I think you can, you know,
you can try to
say
open
that it's
it.
more limited to have
Yes,
a pick.
exactly.
But I think it's actually less limited to have a pick, because
I agree with you.
You know, there's more for you to work with.
Yes.
You know? Whereas if you have
Open
a picture of
your
somebody
eyes.
doing something, just one thing, it's hard to get your mind around them doing something else.
Yes. No, I agree.
You know, I mean, I
agree.
think it. You know,
It's quite
what's the
interesting.
question? How do I like it? I like it. I do like it. I like that it's given me the opportunity to flex my tarot muscles. Because I think, you know, as much as, you know, I enjoy the way that I read normally, I think you can kind of become a little bit staid or complacent with your reading, and doing something like this gives me the opportunity to look at things in a new way. Do you mix tarot with other kinds of decks in a reading, Sarah? I have done. I don't so much at the moment. I have. There's a post on my blog which talks about how I choose maybe 2 or 3 specific decks for a question. So I might have one deck which is very meaty, like the tarot. As an example, the Angel Tarot by Doreen Virtue, I might use that to look at just one card from that deck to find out what's going on in the situation. And then I might use a deck like the Indigo Angels, which gives you a piece of advice, and then I might wrap it up with another card from Angel Answers or something, which gives you just a kind of a wrap up.
Yes.
So yes, sometimes I quite like to combine decks in that way, and I like to think about which ones I'm using before. But then there might be a time if I do a big tarot reading for somebody and I might pull a card from another deck just to give you, just something to think about. Carla says, could you explain why you read professionally with only a select few decks, though you continue to collect widely? How do you choose your professional decks and why do you prefer them? As I was already saying about your deck, when I'm reading and I'm not acquainted with a deck completely, I like to work with something that I know really well. Rider-Waite gives me that, and there's other decks that follow the tradition, which I can just read straight out of the box.
Yes.
But every deck that I buy is potentially a reading deck, and if it doesn't prove itself to me in that way, it goes in the cupboard. But then, my collection of tarots is not all about reading. If you think about decks like that cover mythology or other different interests of mine, they kind of take you into that world, and I don't necessarily have to read with them professionally.
Yes,
The Mythic Tarot is a good example of a deck where you can find out about the characters in Greek mythology. And yeah, it probably would be quite a nice reading deck, but it's also enabled me to learn about those things within the frame of tarot.
This is fun, because when I buy a tarot deck, I always interested in the beauty of the tarot, but in the reading part. If I cannot read it, use it, I don't buy it. And this is fun because you are the professional reader, not me.
Well, no, I do think that sometimes, but on the other hand, I'm just thinking about there's decks out there. The Isis Oracle, I don't have that one. I have a deck recently somebody sent me called the Sun Tarot, which is all about gods and male spiritual figures. So and you can read through that. Would I use it in a professional reading? Possibly not, but there's a lot to learn there from that deck and from the book that comes from it as well. So I don't use all of my decks for tarot professionally. And as I was saying about those Doreen Virtue decks or the Hay House decks, sometimes I might like to have a deck of cards just by the side of my bed. Before I go to bed, I might pull one out. What do you want me to know tonight? Don't drink coffee, whatever that is.
Dangerous. I love too much coffee.
But there isn't a card for that. How do you discern time in a reading?
How do you discern time? I don't do. I don't do it.
No, but I think...
yes, how you do discern time?
Well, I would say I don't actually look at things in that kind of way.
It's the spread to give you the time.
Well, this is it. I probably would say...
It can be the spread, it can be...
Yeah, I would say that it's in the intention before you read. So when I read for people professionally, if I do it Celtic Cross, I would say to people, this is for about 6 months.
Okay.
So you could do it that way. The other thing, sometimes I would use the aces and shuffle them up, and I would use them for different seasons. So you might have wands for spring, cups for summer, swords for winter, and pentacles or coins for autumn. And then you could kind of look at it that way and say, when is this going to take effect? And that could be a position within the spread. How do you set yourselves up for reading? What are your must-haves from Ella Bella?
I try to create a very nice atmosphere, relaxed, and just that.
So how do you do that?
Usually with music.
Dance?
No. Absolutely not. I think to be as plastic as a piece of wood. So absolutely not. If you want to see Frankenstein dancing, yes, I can dance like Frankenstein, little Frankenstein. Yes, if you want to dance, we can dance. No, I just clear my mind. I sit there in front of a friend of mine who wants to know something, and relax. I answer his question.
Do you ever ask them to do anything? When you're building up for reading, do you ask them to do anything? Sometimes I will say, let's have this moment where we can both
I just ask him to be relaxed. Sometimes he's very worried and said, don't be worried, relax. Then think your question, and if you want to tell me. It depends from the rules we set from the reading. Otherwise, setting a question, Have you thought the question? Perfect. Breathe, relax, let's start the game. I mean, I see it as a game, not as a in an offensive way. But it's a game, I mean, like life is a game. You have to play, smile, and whatever happens, you read it, you see it. I mean, you can change. People, I think, is too scared about tarot and what they can say. But at the end, when something's...
Do you feel to be more,
Yes.
a bit more light-hearted?
Yes, more like hearted, or just more relaxed, because whatever the cards saying, they are saying from that moment, and then you always can change. That is the reason why when he asks me for the future, I always say the cards are telling you what can happen if you don't change your path.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that is really important. People sometimes think at the reading like destiny, something that is there in stone, and you can do anything at all to
But
change
then I
it.
always think to myself, if that's the case, what's the point of having a reading?
Because they want to know the destiny of schools. They want to know it.
But if you can't change it, you
The
might as
people
well
want to
just,
know. Yes,
You know, go at it.
yes, but they want to know it anyway.
I mean, I don't think I have any. When we say about must-haves, you see, I know we had this conversation last week, didn't we? That we were talking about what we have on tables when we read, and I said to you that I keep things quite minimal, really.
Yes.
Do you ever see bad energy or danger around someone in a reading?
It's strange because I haven't read the card for just my friend. No.
But then you did say that you have a feeling, or you get ideas coming to your head which are not always connected.
Yes, in this sense, yes, I have even bad feelings for something that can happen so bad images, something scary, or something that can be dangerous for the health of the friend, or something that can happen and can be scary, and we discuss it openly, and that was nice. And you? What about you?
Well,
I think you have more experience.
I do. I don't know. I don't get always a sense of this when someone sits in front of me, but I think I will see it in the cards, and I will talk to people sensitively about what I can feel. But then, as we were talking the other day, a lot of the time I have had this, but it's come through my dreams.
Yes.
I don't dream about my clients, but in my personal life, I've had dreams about things that are dangerous happening to people, or a feeling that something's going to happen, and then something terrible has happened.
Yes. Yes, this is my intuition as well. Yes. Yes, I agree.
And I think that was all of them. But I think
Yes.
that's
We answered all the questions.
Yeah, and it didn't rain.
Well, to give it a time. Look at
It
the
looks
sky.
like it's going to.
Yes, I actually felt a drop.
Did you?
Yes,
How
it was
long
not a
ago?
bird, it was the rain.
Okay.
So, no, I don't know, but the sky is not that... I
Well,
don't know, I don't have an umbrella.
Maybe we should go against the advice of the oracle and look for somewhere to have a coffee.
Yes, let's...
Yeah.
You will drink a coffee.
Yeah.
You can take a
it's-
decaf.
Decaf.
Decaf, yes,
A
decaf. Decaf, as we say. I will start to say in Italian.
Yeah.
Decaffeinato. I said, oh, it's not, it's Italian, it's not English. I get confused.
Yeah, I can drink a coffee.
Me too.
As long as I don't drink loads of coffees.
Let's go to Italy.
Italy.
Yeah, to drink a coffee.
Okay.
And then we come back.
Okay.
Deal.
All before 5 o'clock.
Yes. I have the magic carpet park there.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for your wonderful questions. And
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, and we're going to escape from the rain now. So, thank you,
Yes.
and take care for now.
Yes, bye bye. See you soon.